Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. I just barely got here. Do we have any audio for this? Yes, we do. Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it's time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. This is Friday, the 22nd of July. Today is options expiration day for straight up options. And we had a couple of earnings reported this morning on big companies for the market, but obviously it didn't do too awfully much to it. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that for next week also. But this morning we had Canadian economic numbers. It came out at 8:30. So for those of you who trade with the news tab on Apex, there are generally recommended Nadex Forex pairs trades, and I think there was something for the Canadian US dollar pair. So anyway, we've just had the VIX slip back below 12 by 1 penny, but it sure isn't inclined to make much of a move to the upside right now. This kind of typical July Friday afternoon. So hopefully, if you got your trades in this morning, there's probably not going to be too much opportunity in the afternoon. I mean, you never know about that, but gold is the one that's been in a really tight chop all day. It hasn't moved much at all. So I think Lori won the Gold Star Prize for the day because she made some really nice trades and posted her charts. One thing I did want to show you from this morning's, so be sure I'm not sure where she put those, but scroll up in this chat and you'll find those trades. Basically what she did was take this touchback off of the EMA with coming off a settlement, real flat MVP arrows right here. It's going to take some serious upside move to continue on to the upside right there. It had already put in an red E, and there's an MVP arrow right here. This has been painting red on the market analyzer most of the morning. I mean, once it hit this area here, and just kept on going and going and going, and once it went through, the first expectation that you would have is to see what it was going to do at the low of the day, and then the deviation, and it went right on to the next deviation. I saw this at the time and was thinking to myself, okay, what would make you think that this would go on right here? I mean, given that there's exceeding volume, the deviation mountain is continuing to build, shows no sign of backing off. If you watch these range channel boxes, this box was well below where it was trading. And that's kind of a little clue that you can be aware of when you're asking yourself, gee, I wonder if this is going to go on. I wonder what it's going to do. Oh my goodness, when it gets to when it's cleared this second deviation level right here, that's a time to really start pushing your stop right down. But what would give you the extra ticks from this deviation to this one is right here at the end of this, towards the end of this hour, is to kind of look at this next hour's range box and see if it's about even, then it's that run is probably pretty close to being done. But when it you can see that it's well below, then that's kind of a clue. And if you look at I think it's easier to see this on the 10-minute. Whoops. But right now, this is what I'm talking about. This isn't huge, but look right here where the top of this next hour's range box is. This shows no sign whatsoever of indicating to you that this is inclined to turn around right here. So anyway, that's kind of little things that I look at. This morning, bonds had a really nice chart. I'm going to pull this bonds chart over here and show you. Make it a little wider so you can see from these two. This was a touchback to this blue ice. I don't know how well you can see that, but it certainly was. And the volume was just stepping up, you know, and several of the videos Daryl talks about watching to see these steps that volume will sometimes make. So that was kind of an easy 10 tick down. And when it got down here to this green ice, this is a time to start. I think it's probably done. And if you've gotten your 10, 12 ticks on bonds right there, that's probably good enough for right then. But then I saw this make a trend catcher mark right here, but when the second bar closed down in an elevator, one of the things that I have noticed, it seems to be real clear in bonds, is that when you've got a trend started, and this, you've got trend R is flipped down here, but between this deviation level and the green ice right here, whatever this is, this might be a power bar right here. Once it has pushed off of there, then you definitely have a nice trade, and it just continues. Those elevator, this isn't a classic. Well, this did go down, I think, one tick below the elevator. And then another entry on this was up here where these two EMAs crossed, and there's a magnet right here at 171.08. So bonds can, if you watch bonds and pay attention, the other thing is right at that point, I'll get my 30-minute chart over here too. I really like these little 30-minute charts, but if you look at this thing, it had gone down all morning. See if I can get it to come up here. And then when it put a doji in at 9:30, and at 9:30, I think we had a bit of a downside to the U.S. indices. Typically, bonds will trade inverse. And so this doji right here is a classic. And then at the half hour, that's why I keep saying, what time is it when you place your trade? What time is it? If things are going to happen or reverse or change anything, or there's going to be a pretty good move, it's more likely, the higher probability is that it will happen at the top or the bottom of the hour. So I always try to pay real close attention to what's going on at 9:30, at 10, at 10:30, and by 11, sometimes on some days, 11 does produce a pretty good trade. So, um, somebody asked yesterday a really good question yesterday afternoon in the Elite Room, and I thought I'd take a minute to address that because some of you may not have seen the chat and have the same questions. Why in the world are we all so fixated on news, and what does news have to do with anything? If you are new to trading, it's going to be very, very much in your best interest to become a news junkie. The chattering class and all the talking heads, blah, 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 blah on TV, keep in mind what they get paid to do. They get paid to talk, and that's what they do. And the cameraman turns the camera on TV and they talk. They do not get paid to be right. So the best place to find your news is not from the chattering class. It is from the Apex website, the News tab, which gives you a calendar and a schedule. Another one is Forex Factory that I like because it's easy and simple to use. They give you the times of the news. For instance, if you like to trade the UJ, for example, and you are trying to get a good Forex pair market for Nadex, do you think that it might be beneficial to your trading with that pair if you knew when the Bank of Japan was going to make a big announcement about whether they're going to increase their interest rates or drop them farther below zero? I'm not sure how much more below zero you can go, but those people have the exact same effect on the Japanese yen that the Feds do in the U.S. or the Bank of England, or I call him Dr. Dreadful, but Dr. Drahi, he's in charge of the euro, the European Central Bank. So you need to have a schedule built around what you are trading and your trading times and what news events, economic numbers, and or geopolitical news can affect that trade. And the point is, if you know that at 9 o'clock in the morning there's going to be an announcement from so and so, you might want to see how the market responds to that announcement before you put your trade on. Because if you get on the wrong side of that, that's when a lot of volume is likely to come in that will affect that. For those of you who are trying to figure out what the best time to trade crude oil is, you need to keep in the back of your mind that crude oil, yes, it has inventory announcement every week, and it has this and that and the next thing, and the talking heads love to talk and talk and talk. But in the event that there should be a massive destruction of oil fields somewhere in the world, which is, not out of the realm of possibility, it will affect your charts, and it will affect them hugely. So it's just one of those things that you kind of be aware of. Do not blindly just at first. I understand you're trying to find the E's and the E's and the C's and all the stuff and get your charts organized, but you do need to pay attention to the news. It's absolutely, it's incredibly important. Speaking of which, Monday mornings in the U.S., we don't have too much news, and this coming Monday is no exception. There won't be too awfully much. But next week, we're going to have, next week is FOMAC again. So if you haven't been with us through FOMAC, there's a lot of notices. I keep reminding you, and Tony will put up notices in here because when they make their Fed funds announcement, which will be next Wednesday at 2 o'clock, you probably don't want to be in any currency trades right that particular second, unless they are trades that Daryl has put on that news site. So yes, I've got a question in here. Can I show you this? Let me see if I've got this. I'm going to pull here. We're going to pull this over here on the camera, and I'll show you how you find this stuff. I bookmarked News Trading Apex right here. And when you get this, let's see, you've got the days. Now this week is pretty much done. We're down here on Friday. But for example, and note, just look at this at a glance, and you can see that Thursday is going to be a pretty newsy day. There's a lot of stuff listed in here. But just pick something, for instance. Here's something right here. This was Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon. Earnings releases to be aware of in NQ and YM. Well, if you click on this little color box right here, notice the time, and I do this for the ones in the afternoon especially. You can just take this thing and it's telling you that this is going to be between 4 and 5, which what that means in reality is any time from 1 minute after 4. Intel and Qualcomm, which are both enormously huge companies, are going to announce their earnings. So you might want to look, there's a little explanation in here. You can check out Financial Juice, which also streams off of this. You can click on this and it'll take you right to it. You can get a calendar. There's all kinds of things right here. But if you take this, and let's just say you're going to trade in the afternoon and you're going to trade into the close, take this thing and make it pretty small and just stick it in the corner of your monitor someplace to remind yourself. That's why it's in orange. It's a caution. Be aware that that's going to happen. So if you're trading the NQ, and whatever it was, the NQ is going to trade until 4:15. You certainly want your trades off, especially if you're live. And don't do this live unless you've practiced this through a couple of earnings seasons in demos. So you've got a feel for how it all works. Because what you do not want to do is get caught where you're in with a fast-moving market and you can't get out before it closes at 4:15 because there's so much volume and you're the little person with your little one contract or two or whatever. Because if you're in futures, you're going to get hit with the overnight margin on that for 15 minutes to 45 minutes. If you want to hold it overnight, take it off and then re-enter the trade after it settles. But unless you have a considerably large account, don't be doing that too close to 415. Give yourself a good 5 minutes to try and get out of that trade. But anyway, this is where you find this stuff. And there is also, for instance, here's this was on Tuesday morning here from 8 to 10 a.m. as U.S. building permits and housing starts at 8:30, and there's an iron condor recommended for that. So if you click on your little color thing here and get this over here, this will tell you we're looking to find an iron condor on this pair entering as early as 8 a.m. for the 10 a.m. expiry with a minimum of a $30 profit. So there you go. Then we've got another question in here, and it's a really good one, the overnight margin. If you are new to trading futures, you need to understand, let's see, I got that somewhere here, Ninja. Going to go to Ninja. And this is just an example. So if you want to know what we mean by overnight margin, let's see, here's margins. Every brokerage, and if you don't use Ninja and you use XYZ or whatever it is you use, they have got a margins page. So go to their website, and we're going to view margins by market. And we're going to look over here, and we're going to find that we've got, let's just say, the NQ. We'll take that one for an example. Right here is the E-mini NASDAQ, the NQ. Okay, that's what we trade. And it's telling, now this is in futures, this is not the Nadex. It's telling you that the initial margin is $3,960. The maintenance margin is $3,600, and the intraday margin is $500. This is what is going to be locked when you place a trade per contract is $500. So if you place a one contract trade, the brokerage firm is going to take $500 and freeze it. In other words, you have no access to that until you take the trade off. If you hold this beyond the 4:15 close, between 4:15 and 5 o'clock is no man's land. Number one, there's no volume, so you wouldn't want to trade anyway. But let's just say you put it on and forgot you did. And that's happened to people too. You put it on and you forgot it was there. They will hit your account for this $3,600 per contract until that thing settles. So you definitely want to be out of these contracts unless you have a significantly sized account. By 4:15, drop dead. Okay, and so let's see. I hope that's clear as mud. And that they have them in here for all kinds of things, like for crude oil. They will take $1,000 per contract, and if you hold a trade for 10 minutes, then that's unlocked. In other words, it's back available to you, but that is their protection against your loss, just in case. So it's for all these different futures. With Nadex, it's a lot simpler because, number one, they have no margins because it's defined risk. Whatever you paid for whatever it is you bought or sold, that is your max loss. And so you have to kind of put on your other hat and pretend like you're Nadex. They have no loss on the table to cover your mistake, whatever. You've already handled that up front. And that is one of the beauties of the Nadex system, is that you have defined risk. That's really important. With futures, you do not have defined risk. You have every risk, I mean, for $1 bazillion, if you put on a bazillion trades, and you can lose more than you have in your account, which is why they will, most brokerages now, with the advent of electronic trading, let's just say they hold that $500, and this is why it's so important to properly fund a futures account. And people say, oh, well, I'm going to put $500 in there. And I don't think so. If that thing goes down by $3, number one, you can't trade any contract with a $500 account. I mean, unless it's a micro. And there are micros, but there's not a lot of volume. So this is one reason. And some people want to trade the QM, which is a mini crude oil, and that's fine, but it's not, there's not a lot of volume. You're not, the main volume is in the big crude CL contract. So do they hold it, Dottie? It's like they put a lock on, they stick it over in their little safe and they hold it. And as soon as you take your contract off, they take it out of their little safe and say, okay, here you go. It's yours again. But if you lose more, once your account has hit a certain point, they will take you automatically out of that, whether you want to be or not, because they're protecting themselves. They're not going to let you. When you see this stuff in these, you know, in the newspaper and online and all this stuff about some guy that got I don't know, I think he was fundraising because he had a $240,000 margin call. With the kind of electronic trading that we do, they will have locked your account down after the first $2 loss. So, and they do a great thing with this, the way this works, because I did this one time. I put this order in, and I thought I put in for 2 contracts, and the thing wouldn't take the order, and it it put this little sign up and it says you don't have enough money in your account to do this. And I thought, well, that's stupid. I know I do. And I checked, and I did. And so I put the order in again and got the same thing. And I'm sitting there, and then I looked at the order. I had clicked on some stupid thing, and I put in some like 52 contracts instead of 2. So they don't let you do too much. That's, you know, you can't make a huge big mistake like that because it won't go through. Anyway, if you happen to lose on the trade, they don't charge you an extra $500 or $3,600 to it in addition to your loss. I have so much to learn. Okay, Dottie, let's look at it this way. Let's say you put in an order for 1 contract, and you had, let's say there was $10,000 in your account, and your loss on the account on that trade was $200. You will now have $9,800. Okay. So no, they don't charge you the for the kind of trading we do. don't worry about that maintenance margin. I mean, unless you just happen to forget you got something on there and it goes past that 415 deadline. That's why we keep saying if you trade between 4 and 415, be extremely cautious that you are out of that trade by, give yourself 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. Even that, I don't like that. So it's just that they hold that to protect the brokerage house. I mean, because they're not going to cover your losses. So anyway, my goodness, this side went on and on and on. I try not to do that, but if you do have any questions, Friday afternoons like this are a really good time to ask them because everybody's pretty much finished with their trading, especially in the summertime by this time. So, and yes, some brokerages have recommendations that you're out well in front of 4 o'clock just for safety measures. But if you are trading earnings, there are good opportunities, but I would suggest you practice that through a few earnings seasons in demo just to kind of get the hang of how it works and how it feels. So I think that's about it. It looks like the indices might just keep going up a little bit more and a little bit more. But yeah, the VIX is still hanging right around 12. It's 12.01 right now, so it's changed, what, 2 cents?